Tom, how are we doing this week?
I am tremendous. How are my guys?
We are
Good,
awesome.
man.
I mean, playoff football, chance to go back to the Super Bowl, a season that went places I never thought it would. This is a lot of fun. In fact, Patriots are favored in Denver, and I want to start there because I was listening on Tuesday, as I do every Tuesday, Jones and Keefe, when Tom Curran calls in, and they kind of caught you off guard with the word choke, it sounded like. If the Patriots lose this game, is it a choke job? Did they choke against Jarrett Stidham? And you weren't sure exactly, felt like how to answer, kind of caught off guard. So if I ask you that again, is it a choke job if they lose to Jarrett Stidham, who has never played in the postseason and has 4 career starts?
Tell me what it looks like. Tell me what this game looks like. Say, for instance, as Teddy was just discussing, there's a workmanlike game from Jarrett Stidham, and you don't turn him over, and he goes 17 for 30 for 160 yards and no turnovers. And the defense in Denver plays the way it does, and the Patriots are limited on offense because the main reason being it's a really good defense they're going against. They've gone against good defenses, but not efficient offenses in this playoff so far. And they lose 23-20. I still would have a hard time saying it's a choke. If they don't show up, if it's a circus and there's 4 fumbles for Drake Maye and the defense allows 377 yards to Jarrett Stidham, it would be choky. I would say this, though. We were just talking about this for our pregame live call. If they lose, regardless of whether it's a choke or just Cinderella's turn back into a pumpkin. I don't even know if that's the right fairy tale. But if that does happen, it would certainly rank, given the aspirations right now of what could happen. It would rank right there with 07, 17, 2011, and 1976 as the most disturbing losses. I wouldn't call 76 a choke against the Raiders back then, even though the Raiders were the best team in football. But it would be just really, really falling off the ladder from a very high point, I think.
Yeah, no, I like the way you put that, TC. I'm curious. You obviously were here when Jarrett was drafted by the Patriots back in 2019. You covered him for a couple of years. He played in 8 games, started 0 games, and I thought maybe when Tom left in 2020, we all thought that Jarrett Stidham was going to be the next guy in line. I'm just curious what your impressions of Jarrett Stidham were when he was here. And if you have any inclination as to why he did not beat out Cam Newton for the starting job.
First, my impressions were he had a ridiculously good arm. And he was kind of wispy, kind of a skinny fella. But he threw it unbelievably well. And he would go through training camp practices where you're like, holy crap, nice throw, nice throw, nice throw. Pick. And then you're like, what happened? He was just playing great. The reason I think he didn't beat out Cam is I think that Bill wanted to go with somebody established. And I think the team really, as Devin McCourty was, I think, talking to, I'm not sure who, Mike Giardi, saying, we all kind of really liked Cam. And I think Bill probably felt more comfortable with an NFL MVP on the field than Jarrett Stidham. I don't think Stidham really competed that well during that camp either. He had a knee/hip injury that laid him low after about 2 days of practice. And in that period of time, Cam really took the job. But by the end of that year, I think everyone was kind of saying, why don't you go ahead and put Stidham in and see whether or not he can play at this level. So because then you would have been able to figure out whether you needed to spend a first-round pick on Mac Jones the next year at number 21 overall. 21, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, I always enjoy the Jones and Keefe appearance as well. Also enjoyed when you popped on the old Jim Rome show on Monday as well. Heard doing a little talking about Stidham and Maye and everything else, getting ready for the game on Sunday. I don't think I'd ever heard you say or anyone ever sort of put it this way about Drake Maye. You said he has similar smarts and a similar maniacal focus to Brady in regards to things you see about Drake Maye that resemble Brady. I'd never really heard you mention that before. I guess we never sort of see that side that you get to see or that you were describing on Monday.
Yeah, and it's because it's a little bit camouflaged, his smarts. He speaks very quickly. He, doesn't present as eloquently as Brady did, for instance, or even Drew Bledsoe, for that matter. And I often thought, okay, well, he's a fast thinker. He's got a busy mind, and maybe that's why he sometimes had those glitches, whether it be during last season at the ends of games or sometimes during training camp in the early part of this season. But when you look at how drastically he improved from April of last year until the end of training camp, and then you look at how drastically he's improved this year, he's got to be really, really, really friggin' smart and athletically capable to strip his fundamentals down to zero, rebuild them, and never say, well, this isn't working for me. I don't do it this way. I mean, he just adopts it. And I think also to adopt that, you have to be single-minded and undeterred. And that's kind of the maniacal focus I see. But, you know, the way that his coaches describe him as not making the same mistake twice, well, the ball handling is an issue. But I think that all players are going to deal with that at different junctures. But he just does not – his improvement to me is the improvement of somebody who's unbelievably good, just smart, I guess, for lack of a better word. He's just really on it.
Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston, here on WEEI Afternoons. Tom, great matchup of offensive minds in this game. And I know, they won't actually go against each other. But Josh McDaniels, Sean Payton in the, top 5 play callers, offensive game planners in football over the last 10, 15 years. And they both face interesting challenges. Obviously, the backup quarterback is for Sean Payton, and Josh McDaniels has a young quarterback who's under pressure, getting hit, putting the ball on the ground. Which of those guys do you think you feel like is the greater strength for his team in this game?
In this game, I would say probably Payton, because he's faced with the greater challenge. And that's to be what McDaniels has been to Maye all year, and seeing the profit that Maye has returned for McDaniels by reaching McDaniels where he is. McDaniels reaching Maye where he is, finding out what Maye likes to do, never putting reins on him that are too constricting to not allow him to be who he is, but also planning around the things that he does. So I would say that McDaniel's season is what Payton has to do on this day. I mean, Maye is kind of out the other side, and you know what to expect. With Payton, his challenge is making sure that mentally his player doesn't get overwhelmed, that he is, as he talked about this week, we want to find out what he likes to do and then build around that. So the challenge is greater for Payton. So I think that the upside of and the importance of Payton needs to be great this weekend. And McDaniels, it would be a great idea, too, on the road to be great. But I think that he's starting from a higher point, obviously. So I think in this game, I would say Payton.
Hey, Tom, I find it kind of interesting, me and the external factors that play into these games. And you look at TB12's record in Denver. He's 8-9. He's 2-3 in the postseason there. You look at the 2015 AFC Championship game. The offensive line had 4 false starts. So it's not only the altitude, it's just the overall mile-high experience, the crowd noise, all that. How much do you think the mile-high experience impacts this team? Do you think they're ready for it? They haven't done a lot of the silent counts in the game, so it's just it's an issue. It has been. How do you think they handle it?
I think it's the biggest factor in the game that's not involved with the play on the field. As you pointed out, they haven't done silent count. They had to deal with it in Buffalo and Baltimore a little bit. They did well in both instances, but both were, those were primetime crowds, so they were loud, but they're still not going to be anything like Denver. Denver in the playoffs is a different animal. It's the hardest place to play in the league. And I guess Seattle's supposed to be the second hardest?
Yeah.
I don't see it. I mean, Denver is just hell. And the altitude doesn't really figure in. Ted, you played there, so you could certainly talk to it better than I can. But the altitude, to me, probably figures in when you're stressed. And you're trying to make plays, and you're trying to execute things. And as a result, you're trying to take in a little more air, and there's just not that much more air to take in. So I think it is the hardest place to play in the NFL, and it's a massive factor in this game, especially with Will Campbell, too. On the left, too. Think about that.
Yep.
They were plagued the last time they were there by false starts, and a lot of that was because they were dealing with DeMarcus Ware and Terrence Knighton and a litany of other great pass rushers that day, and they wanted to get into their sets, and they were jumping the gun.
Yeah, and I think it was Derek Wolfe who absolutely devoured.
Oh, and Von Miller.
Yeah,
Von Miller, right?
Yep.
It was hell. It was hell.
Yeah. 8 Stork alive. Stork kept nodding his head and giving away every snap count. I wanted to ask you, Tom, if you heard anything about the possibility of Mac Hollins being healthy enough or being able to return, because I heard something about cleats by a locker and maybe looking like he might be able to practice today.
Yeah, just in talking to Phil Perry, he said he had seen Mac on his way out and didn't have a jersey. So we'll find out when the injury report comes out whether or not he goes from did not participate to limited participation, or from limited to full, whichever it was yesterday. I think it was limited. But no, I don't know. Yeah, actually, he was neither, because he hasn't had the clock started. So we'll see if the clock starts.
Along those lines, Tom, altitude, Denver, injuries. I hadn't thought of this till somebody asked it in the press conference today. Christian Barmore has dealt with blood clots, and I know that was an issue with David Andrews out there. Do we have and I know Vrabel was kind of non-committal with the answer today. Any idea, could he be limited? Is there a concern you might have to play with less than 100% or 100% reps from Christian Barmore? Because he and Milton Williams have obviously been in the middle of everything they're doing on defense.
1,000,000% I would be guessing if I said that. That's the first time you just heard of it, and I'm just having it dawn on me now. Yes, I know he had blood clots, but I hadn't thought of, like, I know, for instance, Ryan Clark
Yep.
had the sickle cell trait, and as a result, it was, physically dangerous for him to play at altitude. So I think he used to miss games when they played there. So,
Yeah.
Again, it's no joke, but I have no idea on that. So I'm 0 for 2 on the Mac Hollins projection and on the Christian Barmore one.
Hey, Tom, I'm curious what you think about some of these coaching vacancies, specifically, though, the Buffalo Bills. You see what happened with Josh, how heartbroken he was after that game. And, they fired their coach, and you saw the performance from the owner, Terry Pagula, the other day up there on the stage. And you wonder, with that performance and with the dynamic there, with Billy, being as the general manager, do you see that as a desirable place to go coach? And, could we see them really struggling to fill their vacancy with a quality, candidate as their next head coach?
It sounds like Terry Pagula is going to start trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube already. He's talking about whether or not, for instance, whoever came in had to win a Super Bowl, and no, I wouldn't say that. Well, he just fired a guy for not winning a Super Bowl. I mean, you've kind of said that. I think it certainly is a mitigating factor. When Matt Ryan was hired to go to Atlanta, he said that the factors for him that Bill Cowher continually stressed was the most important things at each location are the owner, and the owner, if you're a head coach. And really, it's the overarching aspect of everything is the owner. And if you have an owner who's still new to the job relative to the rest of the league in Pagula, and you're going into a new stadium, I mean, there's a lot to like, obviously. I wouldn't turn my nose up to it and say I'd much rather work for the Cardinals, but it certainly would be something that would give you pause, and it doesn't seem like Terry Pagula is a guy who's going to sit there and really want to hear your opinion on things. I couldn't believe. I mean, I know he's trying to help, but it's like disrespectful. It's just disrespectful to the general manager you put in charge of the team, and it's just almost announcing he just has the title. I'm the one who's in charge.
Yep.
Tom, a million other questions we could ask you, but we're coming up towards the end. So let me get your pick. Tom Curran's pick for MVP, most valuable Patriot, not named Drake Maye on Sunday.
Rhamondre Stevenson.
Oh, love it.
You can run on Denver. You can run on Denver, even though the fact that they have allowed, I think it was second in the league, 91 yards per game rushing. You can get some chunk plays on their defense, and Rhamondre is a chunk runner at times when he can get some movement. So I think that he would be the key. His production over the last 6 games, last 4 games of the regular season, and the 2 playoff games, both as a ball carrier and as a receiver, are pretty significant. And it's funny because when you look at both the Patriots and their turnaround, the fact that you're talking about them in the AFC Championship, and then Rhamondre Stevenson and his turnaround, and the fact that I'm sitting here 3 days before the game saying that he would be the key to the game, it's pretty remarkable. And again, it's a testament to just the team not losing its focus and putting things ahead of itself. You know, we'll just take care of this week where we don't fumble. How's that? Just take care of this carry, we don't fumble. And I think the Patriots should try to be the same way, because I do think that Nix and Stidham are going to be used similarly. Stidham can move. The reason that Nix had so few sacks, just 22 this year he took, the reason for that was he moves. There's a lot of pressure that gets applied to him. His pressure numbers are high, but he gets rid of the ball. That's a huge Sean Payton thing, is don't take sacks. So I think that they're going to be able to control the ball a little bit themselves. And I just don't think the drop-off from Nix to Stidham is as precipitous as it would be for most other teams in the NFL. The Patriots, for instance, the drop-off is massive. I just don't think the drop-off is huge.
But you do see, Jordan Palmer saying that there's not too many, dissimilar traits between Drake Maye and Jarrett Stidham. You see that, you hear that and think that's crazy, right? Did you hear the Jordan Palmer comments?
Yeah. No, I've talked to him before about Stidham, and in 2021, before they had drafted Mac, we talked a lot on the phone, and I did a story with him. I mean, I could see him saying that, but it's, 70% in each regard. Like, okay, he can run like Maye, but May's 30% better at doing it. He's got a live arm like Maye. Yeah, well, he's 30%, he's 30% of the good arm Maye is. We've not seen him, well, actually the 4 games that he played, he wasn't a turnover machine. So I see what he's saying, but it's the kind of skill set. They wear the same suit, but one is purchased from some Italian tailor and one is off the rack someplace.
All right, real quick, score.
24-23 Patriots.
Ooh,
Andy Borregales from 62.
From
62, Andy Borregales.
Is that a game winner, like coming from behind?
Oh,
24-12.
yeah.
I hope you're right. That's a fun game, although that would fly in the face of my
Josh Dobbs had to move them into position.
Whoa. All right, you got to go. We'll talk to you next week. Nope. Bye, Tom Curran. Thanks for joining us. See ya. That's Tom E. Curran.